Punjab has enjoyed the status of being richest state of India in terms of per capita income for almost 2 decades. But in last few years, Punjab has seen its worst economic days and Punjab has accumulated a debt of over 47,000 crore rupees in past few years.
पिछले मार्च एंड से लेके सितंबर जुलाई एंड तक जो 4 महीने का जो पीरियड है, उस फाइनेंशियल ईयर के 4 महीने में 120 दिन के अंदर पंजाब सरकार ने 1200 करोड़ रुपए का कर्जा उठाया। 100 करोड़ रुपया रोजाना पंजाब सरकार उधार ले रही है।
This additional debt of 50,000 crore has led to an increase in the debt GDP ratio to a whopping 47.6%.
The Reserve Bank of India has reported that Punjab's outstanding debt was more than 50% of its GDP and more than 4 times of its revenue for the financial year of 2022 and 2023. Ironically, instead of learning from Sri Lankan financial crisis, Punjab is heading on the same way. And we all know what has happened with Sri Lankan economies.
Sri Lanka's economy was once seen as the model for a developing country. Now it is edging toward bankruptcy.
By Saturday, the pressure on the government was overwhelming, with tens of thousands protesting outside the presidential headquarters.
Sri Lanka defaults on $51 billion external debt. There is trouble in the island paradise. There is no food. At least 500,000 Sri Lankans have fallen into poverty in the last few months. There is no fuel. There are no medicines. Critical surgeries are being cancelled. Doctors say the economic crisis may kill more Lankans than COVID did.
In October, Bhagwant Mann, the Chief Minister of Punjab, wrote a letter to Governor Banwari Lal Purohit asking for his assistance for getting 5-year suspension on state's growing debt, which is expected to reach 327 crore rupees by the end of the current fiscal year. And this report also says that if Punjab's financial trajectory continue in a same manner as it has been for last few years, then by the end of 2020-32, Punjab would have been staring at a debt of 5 lakh crore rupees. But the question is, instead of learning from Sri Lankan crisis, why Punjab is following the same pattern and why they are not learning from the mistakes that Sri Lankan has done? That's why in this episode, we will going to cover 1. What happened with the Sri Lankan economy and what were the major reasons for the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. 2. What is the financial status of Punjab and why it is compared to Sri Lanka. 3. What roles does the politics and governance play in the downfall of Punjab's economy. And 4th, what lessons should other Indian states learn from Punjab and Sri Lankan government failure so that they can avoid these kinds of situations in future.
करीब 3 लाख करोड़ रुपए के कर्ज के नीचे दबा पंजाब हमेशा से ऐसा नहीं था।
भगवंत मान जी, पैसा जा कहाँ रहा है? Where is the money, भगवंत मान जी?
पंजाब की इस खराब हालत के लिए कौन जिम्मेदार है?
At the end of its civil war in 2009, despite trying to boost foreign trade, Sri Lankan government decided to focus on providing goods to its domestic market. And because of this decision, Sri Lanka's income from export remained low while the bill of imports keep growing. And that became one of the reasons that Sri Lanka ran out of foreign currency. The Sri Lankan government declared an economic emergency in September 2020-21 and it was not surprising at all because some experts and economists has already predicted it that a day will come when Sri Lanka will not be able to pay its debt, due to which it will have to face economic disaster.
How long have you been waiting in this queue?
I'm waiting 4 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like that. I am buying for 3 liters for 1,500 rupees. How can I drive?
And the interesting thing is, this economic crisis is not due to some external reasons, but it happened due to the negligence and poor planning of the government. And here are the 4 major reasons why Sri Lanka's economic crisis happened. 1. Government's mismanagement. For a long time, Sri Lanka's government took a large sum of money in form of loans, which is equal to $51 billion for public services and leaving the country in debt. the government ignored the expenditure over the income, which led to budget deficit. And you know what? In early of 2023, government introduced income tax for higher earners ranging from 12.5% to more than 36%. And Sri Lankan government has also raised other tax to pay for critical purchases, including the food and fuel. Second, tourism. Tourism is also a big factor in Sri Lanka economic condition because Sri Lanka is a huge dependent on tourism. Since the Easter bombing at various churches in Colombo killed 253 people in April 2019, the tourist has been hesitated to visit the place. And again, its tourism got affected after the COVID-19 pandemic that sets the preset of current crisis. And in such conditions and situations, the tourism industry of Sri Lanka was completely destroyed, which is the 10% part of the GDP of Sri Lanka. Third, prohibition of fertilizer imports. To make Sri Lanka a 100% organic farming country, government has completely banned all the fertilizers imports, and this has affected food production in Sri Lanka, and this become a reason for rising food and fuel prices and currency depreciation. And the decision of banning fertilizers has impact on Sri Lanka economy. And last but not least, foreign reserve scarcity. The economic mismanagement of Sri Lanka has exhausted 70% of Sri Lanka's foreign reserve, with only $2.31 billion left, with debt repayment of over $4 billion. Sri Lanka's high dependence on import of essential commodities such as sugar, pulse and cereals added fuels to the economic slowdown, as the island nation lacks foreign reserve to pay its import bills. And apart from that, Sri Lanka's FDI is also declined. According to the government data, the FDI of the Sri Lanka was $1.6 billion in 2018, which was reduced to $793 million in 2019, and which was again reduced to $548 million in 2020. This incident should be taken as a lesson by the neighboring countries, and where the Indian state governments had to avoid the things that can bring this kind of situation, Punjab started following the same path. Punjab has become one of those states whose wealth ratio has increased immensely in the last 3 years. And just like Sri Lanka, Punjab is facing the financial crisis due to multiple reasons, because Punjab is doing the things that Sri Lanka did. State is spending more than its income, which is forcing the state to take the more loans to pay interest, and then this trap will go on and on till the Punjab will fully drown in a debt. And there are two main reasons why the economic situation in Punjab is similar to that in Sri Lanka. One, quite like Sri Lanka, Punjab caught in a debt trap where they are dependent on the market loans. While the payment may appear feasible in the initial years, but they will only pile up as the time goes on. Two, Punjab's state government is engaging in economic wokeism by opposing the private investment in agriculture, which is one of the Punjab's stronghold, quite like Sri Lanka that implemented naive policy by banning fertilizers. Unlike the Sri Lanka, Punjab will not have to worry about the inflation at the micro level escape right now, but the fundamental problem remain the same. And as per the recent RBI report on state finances, Punjab in 2020-21 was the worst performing state, and there are many reasons behind the financial crisis of Punjab in last few years, including the political climate and policy maker of the Punjab. But there are two actual reasons due to which the debt problem of Punjab is increasing. One, while the state is paying off some of its debt, it is also taking over more of its finance, both debt payment and capital expenditure, that trapping Punjab in a vicious circle. For example, in 2017 and 18, to repaid 7,152 crore rupees internal debt, Punjab has borrowed 18,057 crore rupees, and in 2020 and 2021, 33,595 crore rupees borrowed borrowed against 12,863 crore rupees that was paid off domestically. And again in 2020, 21 and 2022, government has borrowed 26,584 crore rupees to pay internal debt of 16,780 crore rupees. Are you seeing the pattern? What's happening here? Punjab's debt is growing continuously from 2017 and 18, where loan amount was just 7,152 crore rupees. The loan amount has increased to 16,781 crore rupees in 2020, 21 and 2022. And in last 5 years, annual borrowings by the state has focused toward repayments of the loan. 2. CAG estimates that given Punjab's debt trap, Punjab's state government would have to borrow more over the next 10 years. The CAG also estimated that by the end of 2031 and 32, the state would have staring at a debt of 5 lakh crore rupees. The problem is that state government, instead of focusing on indulging private sectors and improving the income of the state, government is too busy throwing away the resources on subsidies and freebies. Even though AAP is not entirely responsible for the state financial problem, but it is misused its strong mandate for the exchange and went on a step further, offering the freebies. And to give you the exact data, since coming to power in Punjab, the Aam Aadmi Party government has taken several populist measures, including free power up to 300 unit per household, financial assistance of 1,000 rupees for every woman aged 18 or above, and just to cover the interest and previous loans, the government has borrowed 8,000 crore rupees in just 2 months. That too, when earlier in 2020-23, the Reserve Bank of India has flagged that Punjab's outstanding debt was more than 50% of its GDP and more than 4 times of its revenue for the financial year of 2020-22 and 2023. Even the majority expenditure of the state is directed toward debt obligations or fixed cost like wages and pensions. This subsidy and loan interest payment is responsible for 1/3 of the expenditure, while the wages and pensions take away 1/3 of the piles. And you know what the interesting thing is? The power subsidy is allocated to the rich farmers, make up at least 2/3 of the subsidies. Despite all the economic crisis that Punjab is facing, instead of taking private sector investment that could create both revenue and employment, Punjab government is rejecting the investment in agriculture only because of the economic wokeism. And you know what? The state government did not invest the funds that was allocated to the state disaster relief fund, was incurring the loss over the investment in corporations and losing the money in incomplete infrastructure projects. And not only this, but the AAP government has spent 37 crore rupees in just 2 months for advertisements and is focusing on the short-term expenditure like the payment of the salaries and loan interest payment and many others. It is the high time for the AAP government to analyze the Sri Lankan financial disaster and learn from it to take some serious necessary step to control their expenditure and that can hike up their revenue. The Punjab government should now make some new policies and stop providing extra freebies and start investing in some capital expenditure which can generate revenue in future.